and I welcome you all, and I extend my sincere thanks to all of you for joining us in this 12th virtual lecture of the lecture series. Today's subject for the lecture is the historical, social, and cultural accounts of Dome. Uh, and the lecture would be delivered by Mr. Pua Hemati. Uh, Actually, he was born in Iran, but he grew up and studied in Australia, Sydney. And he was an English teacher and teaching at the Western Sydney Library in the Liverpool. But gradually he became the freelance international social worker and advocate for Roma migrants and refugee, and help extending myriads kind of help to uh, these migrants and Roma people across the world. He has the expertise in Roma and Dome affairs, and he has been actively involved um, in extending different kind of support and help to the Roma people in Australia as well as different part of Europe. He is closely working with the working with the Gretchen Hobson, and I think both of them are doing some great work. Even in Kosovo right now, there is some uh, furor and tumultuous situation in Kosovo, especially for displacement of Roma people in Kosovo. So, Mr. Hemati, he has been being a Rome, and he has. Sorry, I have to also control the. So, Mr. Hemati, he has been actively involved and unwaveringly committed to the Roma affairs.
Mr. Hemati,
and whatever the sources and whatever the paraphernalia he has, and he using those supports and those resources, he is helping the Roma community across Europe. So I would like to listen to Mr. Hemati. He will the topic which he selected. That's a very quite interesting, because it is also one of the group of a Roma community. They are known as a Dome, and sometime they are known as a Duman, and somewhere in Kurbeti, and some also call themselves as a Karachi. They are they are found and they reside in Middle East Asia, and especially um, Azerbaijan, Iraq, Iran, and Jordan, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon. In these places, this people, this community, this group of people reside there. They are in good number, because their migration took place in different phases of time. So it is almost the 1,000 or 1,100 years ago. So most of them got assimilated and integrated in the mainstream society, and they professed the religion of those lands. So there, especially Dome and these Kurbati as well as Duman, they have been overwhelmingly integrated and assimilated in the mainstream population of those countries. So Mr. Pua, he is going to shed light on how still these people practice and profess and preserve the culture and traditions and the language which are of Indian origin, and how they practice and maintain. The language they speak is known as a Domari. That is the that that particular language is of Sanskrit origin, and that have been substantiated by the different linguists and the scholars. That I'll talk later, but the first I would like to I request our honorary director, Shri Narayan Kumar sir, to deliver the opening remarks. And sir, that is, the floor is yours. Please deliver your opening remarks.
Thank you, Jamil. My greetings to all the distinguished participants of this webinar. As a matter of fact, the subject is very relevant and the speaker is equally qualified. So the historical, social, and cultural accounts of the Domri or Roma in Asia and Middle East and Europe. Middle East, Asia, and Europe. As we know, in Sanskrit alphabet, we have two R. That is, one is Larai. Larai, when we pronounce Larai, it is very near to Ra. Actually, it is Ra, and Marshall Courtyard used to double R to say that it is Ra. So Roma and Doma is not that much difficult, and Lokesh Chand has written at length and explained that what Doma and Domari language is. This language has, with origin from Sanskrit, but came to our uses and via Prakrit and Apabhrans, as far as the historical, social, and cultural association with Romani society and is immense. It is more over 1,000 years old, and we respect and celebrate these relations. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, when in 1962 visited Belgrade and came to know about this, he assigned this work to Bhikkhu Chaman Lal, who has authored a brilliant book, and he has been assisted by the embassies of then government of India, and he has collected the songs, and it was proved that the Romani society has its origin from India. Again, in 1983, Romani conference was, international conference was held, and Mrs. Gandhi presided it. And as we know that W.R. Rishi organized that, then Hindu Heritage had a very wonderful conference, and Atal Bihari Vajpayee, had an audience with them and assured that Romani society, their social, historical, cultural relations are taken with Indian society. As you know, you have the numeral, you have the part of our body, you have the days, which is Sanskrit or Hindi from Hindi origin. So it's a very important subject, and we will discuss it as far as the Antarashtriya Sahyog Parishad is concerned. We have established this the Center for Roma Studies and Culture Relation when in 2016 we organized the international conference in our Azad Bhavan, and Sushma Swaraj was the inaugurated that, and from over 20 or more delegates from world participated. Indians also participated. Then again, when we celebrated 1,000th year of exodus of Roma from Kannauj, we had a grand celebration in Lucknow and also in Kannauj. So these relations are time tested, and I am happy that we have a scholar like Priya Khamati, who is a social worker, who has been advocating the cause of the Romani society and their conditions in different part of world. I am also, I see the ARSP, our Secretary General, Shyam Pandey, has been very much interested, and he has motivated us to work for this in this society. This webinar is perhaps 12th webinar, and this is that our adversity has been turned into opportunity, because this all Mahamari and everything has provided us to have these seminars. So I will request our Secretary General, Sri Shyam Parandeji, to welcome all the distinguished guests like Mohan Gautam. there, Sarojini Pritam is there. They are a very famous name in Hindi literature. So I request our Secretary General Shyam Parandeji to welcome this distinguished guest. Thank you.
Namaste, and I welcome you all on behalf of Antarrashtriya Sahyog Parishad and the Center for Roma Studies and Cultural Relations. As Sri Narayanji has explained, this center has organized couple of conferences since its inception and has promoted relations with Roma communities spread across the world. Most of the times we had been listening to the lectures till now. This being the 12th. 11 lectures covered the European, the American, and the Western part of the hemisphere. Today, we are going to listen to someone from Australia, Mr. Puya Farhani Hemmati. I am glad to listen to him and welcome him. I had been to Australia, Sydney, and a friend of mine organized a meeting with a Romani gentleman in the city of Sydney. This was in 2014. He was an elderly gentleman. Might be he was then past 70 years of age. And he explained me the situation of Roma community in Australia, and I was surprised to note that there are more than 100,000 Romas in Australia. Obviously, he explained how they migrated, which part of the world they migrated from, and this was all surprise. But then it added to my knowledge. ARSP has set up the research center apart from promoting relations, and we have till now published 2 books and would like more scholars from across the world, Roma scholars or scholars on Roma studies, to come up with proposals and write more literature. Similarly, we would like to encourage young scholars from India to study Roma issues and establish the connection, because the connection from Western world has been established amply by the authors from Europe and Americas also. However, there is very little literature about Roma migration from within India, what we call Bharat. And this is what we are trying to establish now. The community called Domari or Domari is spread across the whole country. And in various parts of the country, they have various names and professions also. With change of time, they have left because they were a migrating nomadic group. And now, of recent, I have met a couple of Dom or Dombaris who are now settling down at a place, trying to educate their children, trying to establish within the society. And this change is a welcome, apart from their migrating, the profession they had. So that's how these Domaris and or Dom have migrated to the other parts, and they have migrated to Central Asia and West Asia and also Europe. And that's how we are going to listen about this migration and the community from Mr. Puya. So welcome, sir. Namaste.
Thank you
can
very
start.
much, Mr. Shyam. Thank you very much, Mr. Shyam and Mr. Bharat. I would like to say namaste, sastriyakar, salam alaikum, and lachi divas to all my friends. I'm very grateful and honored to listen to so much gratitude and recognition from each single one of you. Basically, Mr. Shyam and Mr. Bharat has explained in brief but very concrete information about our history, and I'm very grateful that everyone has the inside knowledge about our historical background. But I'm going to go in some informative details regarding how we come from India, Bharat, our motherland, to Persia, to West Asia, as Persia was a great pinnacle for our traveling time. There's a famous Persian poet by the name of Ferdowsi. He has written a book called the Book of Kings. In this book, there is a critical details explanation that the Persian king by the name of Bahram Gur at that time, he has requested the Indian king for musicians, for fortune tellers, for entertainers, for people who are poets, who are all sorts of people to come to India, from India to my bigger pardon, I keep saying straight, from India to Iran. And this has actually been documented. And the Book of Kings exists today, which was written by Ferdowsi, Persian poet. But our historical time of travel, it happens to the time that India was under attack by foreign forces. I would say during the Mughal times, many people left India and come. Our people come from the Punjab, Haryana region, as well as Rajasthan. Our Domari people, we were coming as Dom, as one. But our brothers and sisters who went to Europe, they are Roma people. This is the European name, Roma. But we are the same people. There's no difference between Roma and Dom. We are one people. We come from India originally. Our historical, our cultural, genetical background is the same. There's no difference. Our language has changed because of our European cousins adopting Slavic, Germanic, and Latin languages. Whilst we are in Persia, we use more Farsi words in our vocabulary. Unfortunately, Domari language is not fully spoken throughout Persia. There have been lots of mixed marriages and intercultural weddings and interactions between different cultures. There is some groups in the northern part of Iran who speak old Sanskrit, Mazandarani, as well as Domari language, which are called Gudars people. They are scattered around Mazandaran, which is the northern part of Iran. It's a very picturesque state in Iran, which borders the Caspian Sea. They are involved in musicians, there are fortune tellers, there are blacksmiths, there are coppersmiths, and there are people who are involved in, I would say, palm reading, all forms of trades they're involved in, and they are keeping to their own community. They do not mix with others. And the numbers, because of that, significantly decreased. the Roma population in Iran, I would love to use the word term Roma because we are everyone aware of the word Roma. We are Doma, we say no, Roma is no different. We are the same. It's around 1 million people all around Iran. Majority of the people who come from many different groups. There are Domari, which I'm part of. There are Zargars, and Zargars are the ones who are originally uh, left Iran to Romania and Russia, and after some time migrated back to Iran and stayed there. And they speak the fluent language of Romani because they kept the language uh, and but sadly even now the young people who come from the Zargar community of the state of Qazvin in near Tehran, they not speaking the language, I would say fluently. We have many groups also in the central desert area of Kerman, and they come from the Karachi group, which migrated from the Baluchistan region. In the Baluchistan region, southeastern part of Iran, we have a quite large number of Roma groups, which are very, very close to Indian culture. They have their food, their dress, they still kept that Indian tradition because of close proximity with the Pakistan border. They have kept very similarities. We have a lot of words, as you know, which are very similar. The language of Hindi, I would say Sanskrit language. We say ek, du, tin, char, panch, sho, efta, ochto, tis, and dand for teeth, yak for eyes, yak, and we say chor for knife. A lot of words very similar, and these words they still exist. And this explains clearly that I'm getting very emotional because every time I talk about our homeland, India, I get very emotional. I have visited India twice, and I feel like I'm leaving my mother's house every time I leave India. This explains we come from India. I mean, there is no other explanation. Why would someone living 1,000 years far away from India, they speak the same words, the similar cultures, in Iran, there are many people who are palm readers. We have someone in our families even who read palms. This is a very ancient Indian tradition. It's very practiced in India, and I was very blessed to see this. And also, obviously, religion plays some part. The Gudars that live in the northern part of Iran, although they have reverted to Islamic religion, they do practice some of their cultural habits, which are not very practicable in Islamic country in Iran. For example, they are very free people. They go hunting wild boars and they eat wild boars, which is not something that you do in in Iran. But they live a very nomadic lifestyle. In Tehran, our people are obviously very much westernized with other cultures, very informative. One thing that is very common in Iranian culture is hospitality and kindness, which just like India, Iran has a very rich history with accepting people. Although a lot of people not very aware of our people in Iran, there has been some very marginalized slang words such as holy or qurbat, they call us, means stranger. But this happens very rarely, not very common. I have to say that our physical appearance have made us more acceptance into the vast majority of Iranian culture, unlike our European brothers and sisters. I would have to say, with all due honesty, it's the same thing with Lebanon. It's the same thing with Iraq. The Roma there, they have more acceptance than they have in European countries, because of their skin color, because of the, and this is an advantage for us that we are lesser discriminated. But at the same time, the poverty level, there is a poverty level, there is some social problems, as you know, as it is all around Europe and other countries. But these things are not as much as there is in some other countries. The Roma in Iran, we celebrate the Persian New Year. It's called Nowruz. It means the new day of spring. This is something that have been, I would say, adapted into our culture, and we practice that. Many Roma in Iran are very much invited as great musicians who are involved in the great violinists. They play the drum, play all sorts of instruments, and they are invited in weddings and invited in many ceremonies to perform music. And I have lots of videos and all that on YouTube of our brothers and sisters in Iran being actively involved in going around the streets, young children playing the drum and singing, which in the near bazaar area, and people are generously, giving them money, supporting the music. Although you're talking about an Islamic country, which some sort of music is not acceptable, but still there is much tolerance, much respect towards everybody, and I'm very grateful to see that our people are still managed to practice their culture and practice the habits such as great musicians. We have the Zargar people are I'm in contact with Bester Bahram Zargar. He is living in the city of Qazvin, Abaysk, which is not far away from Qazvin. That whole region, they speak Romani language. I'm not sure about the population. I would say there are a few thousand people that live in that village, and it's been recognized recently in Iran as the first village in Iran that the official language is Romani. So I'm very grateful to have this in our country. And just like the Roma from Europe, our people are very patriotic to our country. And there are many Roma who are involved in the army. They attend the army, just like our brothers and sisters in Europe. There are nurses, there are all forms of people. Generation has changed. People are very integrated into the Western society and everything. We have a doctor who is also Domari in here. His last name is Domari. So this is something that I'm very grateful to say all the good parts. Obviously, it was not very easy for us to leave our land, our homeland, India, to migrate to Middle East. There are many Domari groups in the Palestine region, as also in Israel, who are somehow discriminated. And then I spoke to one of the Domari leaders over there, and she has told me it's very hard because they still treated as strangers. They use the word of gorbati to some groups of Roma, because this word in Arabic means qarib, means stranger. So for them, our people are still strangers, because some of the habits and practices they have is completely different in some cultures. I would say that with Iraq also, when before the war in Iraq, many Doma were involved in festivals and other activities, playing music and all that during Saddam's time. But after that time, there has been music banned in some areas, and they're not allowed to practice their skills. When it comes to family life, just like India, in our culture is very important. We have lots of children because this is something that we love very much. This is something we find like it's a blessing from God to have a child. Um, so we like to have more than one child. And this is something that's very common with our Roma brothers in Europe. They have, you look at a Roma family, they at least have 3 to 4 kids. Although I'm an exception, I have only one child, but other people have more than 1 or 2 kids. And recently now, they have been, I've been in contact with some Roma in Iran, and they have been education programs about the people being more aware about our cultural heritage, our homeland, which is India. And people are more informed about, you know, what happened, how it come. I have to say that with all due honesty, in Iran there has been more acceptance for our people than I would say maybe in some other countries. There are many groups of Roma groups in Egypt as well. There are many groups in Jordan who came from Palestine to Jordan, and there are many Roma groups that are living in Syria, but they are called in Syria and Lebanon. They are called Nawari people. This is the name they have adopted. Nawari people. There's a very famous musician who is involved into doing duets with Balkan Roma musicians, and a very famous musician called Bilal, the king of gypsies, he called himself. Very famous Domari from Lebanon. And going back to Iran, there are some Roma who are living in the desert area, in the central area of Kerman, which is the very plain and desert area, and they're pitching tents. They still live in tents. This is a lifestyle they have adopted. And when it comes to food, I would say the Roma that come from the Baluchistan region, they very much have the same culinary diet as the Indian people. They have rotis, they drink masala tea, they have dals, they have you know, chicken biryanis and all sorts of things, which is very similar to the culture. They have kept because of close proximity of distance geographically, they have kept the culinary diet of India. Whereas we coming from Iran, we eat more like stews, Persian style of food and things like that. Although I'm also a part chef, I love cooking. I love Indian food, and I enjoy eating a lot of vegetarian food. And when I was in India, I do eat a lot of vegetarian food as well. In the northern Iran, I have to say, in Mazandaran, the Roma, they're also involved in being involved in picking fruits and also selling it in the markets. They pick a lot of walnuts and other like almonds and other nuts, and they prepare it in the jar and sell it at the market. So trade, it's something that is very international, and our people are involved in all around the world. So, and as we can see, our Indian brothers and sisters also been for centuries involved in trade. So this is something also we carry with us. If anyone has any questions so far, or I can continue. I don't know how does it work. I can continue and talk about different things, but if you please ask me something, I can be able to.
I think you can continue. At the end, we will have the questions. It's going on well.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Yes, I do have some comments and also
Yes,
questions.
please. Please.
I was listening the interesting, let's say, explanation of and the connections between the Middle East Roma and the European Roma, including the migration to here and there. And I have to say that I have familiarized myself into all of the existing theories, so to say, of related to Roma origin. And I'm very well aware of those early remarks done by the Persian poet Firdousi, which is related also to one theory which is not among the researchers, and in particular non-Roma researchers, so much appreciated, but which do have a very strong connection with the Romani culture. And when I'm speaking about Romani culture in this connection, I'm reminding you about the fact that those, let's say, origin theories, which the mainly non-Roma researchers have done until now, are related mainly on anthropological basics or on linguistical basis. And what they are leaving out mainly is the cultural characters, the social cultural context, which the Roma do speak about as Romanipe. Romanipe is a large, very large, let's say, context, which do include purity, impurity system, marime system, honoring of elders, the society relations, how to raise people, how to speak to people, how to see the world, many cultural identity related fields and topics. So this is what I am asking, because I'm not so sure until today. And even if I have read all of the existing theories related to Roma origin research, so I'm not still yet clear, and I haven't seen, let's say, research which can 100%ically claim that this is exactly the origin of Roma. And this is why I'm saying that I would like to see somebody, preferably coming from Roma Doma origin, who would do a real research of our origin. And with real research, I am meaning including linguistical, historical, and also sociocultural identity aspects.
Hello, excuse me, Miranda.
Because
Hello, excuse me, Miranda. Please, let our speaker complete his speech, Mr. Pumba.
Yes.
After that, you can make your remarks in the question answer session. So I request you, please, whatever the questions and remarks you have, so in the at end, you can ask and put forward your remarks. So, Mr. Pua, thank you very much. And Mr. Pua, you can continue and complete your speech. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I will get back to Ms. Miranda later on, but just want to say that from my personal experience, I have visited India 2 times, and during these 2 times, I never felt like a stranger visiting a foreign land. For me, I was treated as an Indian. I was even questioned by Indians why I'm not speaking Hindi. And I got acceptance, and I know about my cultural heritage, as well as my DNA shows my cultural background that come from India. It shows parts of India. I mean, this is the science of today. We have a technology which is very precise and very accurate and can explain many things. And I'm not going to say that I'm 100% believe in science, but I have to say with the technology of advancement of today, I'm very much acceptance of their researchers. But when it comes to cultural practices, as I said, the linguistic is very much similar. But going back to Iranian Roma, are people living in Iran. We have very close ties with India. I mean, there have been some um, Indian lecturers attending Iran and meeting with Bahram Zargar. There have been lots of European friends visiting. One of the friends is Mr. Orhan Gajos. He's not here in the room, I think, but he has met Mr. Zargar. And he has been visited Iran a few times. And he found that our similarities and with language and many things that are very similar with our Roma brothers and sisters in Europe. We do have some practices which is very similar to the times of old times of India, obviously respecting the oldest. When we are sitting in the table, usually the oldest person would eat first. We will not, sometimes women bring the food to the table and they do not sit in the same table as kind of respect. It's an old, I would say, that comes from the old Indian tradition, because when I visit my friends who are coming from Punjabi Sikh background, I would see much similarities with us. In fact, when I'm walking in the streets in Sydney, we have a very large Punjabi community, and they are speaking to me. They're asking me questions in Punjabi, and I cannot answer them. And for them, it's very strange. Why is this guy? He looks like one of us. Why is he not speaking the same language? And politely, I say, बहुत थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी सोहबत है. And they're very surprised. I wish if I could speak fluent Hindi and another in Punjabi. I hope I can learn in the future. But one thing it's very important is to have this connection between our people that are living in Iran, some living in very remote places, to their ancestral land of India, Bharat, the Hindi name. And so for them to know, look, this is our culture, this is our history, this is what makes us. People seem to say that our history is something that's happened in the past, but history is what makes us even today. We can never forget about cultural background. And in Iran, there are some small, as I said, margin parts that they say when someone's behaving differently, they say, oh, you are behaving like a gypsy. This is some, in very small groups, people say these things. This is also discriminative thing, that because our people are very straightforward. If we find something unjust, we speak about it. We are very brave, and we are not having any fear of talking about something. And this comes back from our ancestral background. And with our kids, we are very protective of our kids. In some areas, if in a town, if some of our kids get hurt by another kid, the whole town goes to that family and demand apologies, because we are very connected to our children. Our children is very important to us. I think this is a very common thing with the Indian culture. Obviously, many people in Iran, many Roma, the ones that are living in a very remote areas, they like to have child to be the first child to be a boy. They do not a big fan of girls. But I myself, because of education, Western education and different things, I personally was very grateful to have a daughter. I have a 5 years old, and her name is also because of my ex-wife's background. She's also coming from European Roma background, half European Roma from the Czech Republic. We named her Anushka, which is a very Hindi name. Uh, so there's still practices which we do in are in historically in India. There are many showmen in Iran who are coming from Domari Roma background. They do magic. They for example they get a sword, they put it inside their mouth, or they get a chain, they wrap it around their body, and then they break the chain. This is like a showman, you know. They're very much involved. Some of them are involved in being in the circus as stuntmen and things like that. We have many areas in the in community, people working in different parts in the country. Um, but one thing that really combines us all together, we always feel that we are strangers, although we are living in Iran, in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Egypt, the Nawars and the Karachis. There's also our groups in Afghanistan, the Karachi groups in Afghanistan. They're under immense pressure right now because of the Taliban. They are suffering immensely. They cannot practice their habits because they're seen as very bad, and they can go to prison. So, for example, one of the practices is, when it's a very common thing in Iran and in Afghanistan, is they have birds, tiny little birds. I would say they are like parrots or budgies, and these budgies pick a piece of paper, a random paper, and it gives to the person who's standing there. And when they open it, it's like a poem or something, and they read it. This would, we call it bacht, luck. And it would explain to them, oh, you will be rich, or you will find a partner, or something like that. You'll find a wife. And this is a very common thing in Iran, which is practiced by the Domari groups in Iran. Poverty is also plays a big part in our society. There are people who are less privileged than I am, who perhaps having it very hard. This is something that is very common. We share in our society, and there are some Roma families who are more wealthier, who would help the neighbor if they are in need. I have to be quite honest with you. When we are living 1,000 years in Iran, many of our cultures influenced by the Islamic religion, and many Roma have influenced the Islamic religion and the culture and everything. So, as lady was mentioning about Romani pen, some of those practices have bygones by now. We do not practice it because we have endorsed the Islamic culture and the religion into our society. So this would make it a bit different, you know. In Europe, perhaps some groups of Roma, they still practice Romani pen. When I visit Europe, I haven't seen people in the Czech Republic who practice Romani pen to the core. Maybe there are some groups somewhere in other countries, or Slovakia. I have visited these two countries. Although they are very proud Roma, they are very some of the practices now we do not practice, obviously, because the reason is there's I believe in equality of men and women. I believe men and women should be equal in all aspects of life. And some of them is quite, I would say, sexist to a woman, like, you know. So in my family, we do not practice it. We're very Western, but we do keep some of their cultural and linguistic things and things like that. But I am against all forms of discrimination, and this involves equality of men and women. This is something that I believe in. And but in some Roma communities, even a woman cannot walk in the same side by her husband. She has to be few step back walking. This is in some parts, remote places, and they still practice some of the old traditions. Yes, like for example, when the child is born, they put some black mark on the head, the forehead, or on the arm. This is to keep the evil spirit away. This is very common in India, in Bangladesh. I have seen we follow similar thing. So we're getting very much closer cultural practices that's happening between the two cultures. So, and also we in some places we put a blue eye in a child wearing a blue necklace, which is very common in Turkey. The Roma wear this, and it's also to keep the evil eye away. We call it mashal. And uh, these are the similarities we have. Also, it's very bad for a woman in some areas to wear some sort of a clothes. Obviously, coming from Islamic religion, there is a proper attire which the people wear because of the law of the country. Everybody follow it. But even at the old times, the Romani women in Iran, they did not, like, they wear very long skirt that comes all the way to their ankle. And they dress very modesty. This is something that was it's also very common in Indian culture. The women in India, they also wear very long clothes. And when it comes to our children, it's the people who are living in a standard way of life. They have I would say medium wages. They send their kids to a school. They want their kids to be educated. We want our kids to have a good future. This is also very common with our Indian brothers and sisters. We want our children to be very successful in life, maybe more than us. At the same time, we will do whatever to provide our children with food, shelter, safety. This is a common thing in all cultures, but it's very, very, especially for us, it's very important. Our first child is very important to us, and also the last child. Our first child, because it's the first blessing we have from God, the Creator. And the last one, because it's the youngest, always remains the youngest. Even if that child gets very old, we still see that child as our baby. Even if he's 60 years old and the mother is 80 years old, she still see him as a baby. So these are some of the practices we have. Many of our cultural practices are Roma in Iran, Roma in Afghanistan, Roma in Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, are endorsed by accepting the vast majority of our culture. Let's say if they are living in Iran, we have accepted many of the cultures in Iran. If they are living in Egypt, many of the cultural practices in Egypt. The same goes with our culture of accepting visitors. We are very hospitable. There are people who are not very wealthy in Iran, yet we are very hospitable with our visitors. If we have a visitor in our house, I believe it's very common with India. We say it's a guest from God. So we have to make sure the visitor is taken care of. Whatever food we have, whatever entertainment we have, we make sure our guest is leaving our home in a happy face. It's a very bad, I would say, taboo. It's very bad for a visitor to leave the house and they be upset. This is very bad in our culture. We make sure our visitor is feeling at home. The same thing goes with our neighbors. You know, we just like India, we are very close with our neighbors, whether they are Roma or they're not Roma. You know, we invite our neighbors over. We try to have a good relationship, and I would say because of the culture, our culture, which is it comes from India, and the Persian culture, which is also an Aryan culture, which also have similarities to it, and the language is Indo-European. We have been accepted more, and we have been living, I would say, easier lifestyle than some of our brothers and sisters living in some places. Not all places, in some places, I would say. But I have to say, we are very, very much into loving our family. We love our family. If I'm far away from my family, I feel depressed for some time. You know, this is something that is very common, I think, internationally with all our Roma. So we cannot be without our family. We are very connected to our family. Our family is part of our life. Even when we are older, I would notice the same thing with our brothers and sisters in Europe, in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Some of our Roma go to Germany and other countries to work, and they always come back after a few months because they miss their family dearly. So the family connection is very strong and very, yes. Sorry, somebody want?
Yeah, Mr. Pua, complete your lecture.
Yeah.
Finish.
Sure.
My question, sorry.
Yeah.
Please go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, first you conclude, first you wind up your lecture, then after we have the question and answer session.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. I just don't want to be disrespectful towards our dear friends, because if they're interested to ask questions, I'm very open to answer it. Well, I'm very close to finishing. One thing I'm going to say that some things we do not do, like, for example, if someone's shaking our hand, this is something that's perhaps very common. We use our right hand to shake hands. We do not use our left. I think this is very common also in the Indian culture. The right hand is also a very common thing because they eat with the right hand as well. You know, some of the other cultures is, you know, in the old times when we leave home, if we leave something in our home, we don't go back inside the house again, because they find this as a very bad omen. Something bad can happen, bad luck, you know, nothing. You could have bad luck, lose your money or something like that, you know. So if the house is closed, you don't go back. And we have a habit of keeping all our clothes very clean, very tidy, always, you know, when we are going out. It's very common. You see in Roma, in Europe, the same. They're very well dressed, very well groomed. It's part of also Romani Pen, which there are many good practices also that exist in Romani Pen, but there are some practices which are actually outdated. I was talking about the equality of men and women, you know, in today's society, some of the rights, and just another thing I'm going to say. The problem we have, I think, which is also common thing with some countries such as Romania, is our young girls get married at the young age, 16, 15, and this is something that's very common. And parents, if they have girls, they want to marry the girls. So once they each, the girl reach, I would say, woman, how can I say, she blooms, then she will get married. I would say no less than 15, 16 years old, which obviously in each country the age of marriage and consent is different to another. I haven't been to Iran for a few years. I don't know if it's changed or not changed the government law of marriage, but I would say 16, 17 is a very common thing. And majority of Iranian Roma, they believe in Islamic faith. They follow Islam. There are groups who are Sunnis living in the Baluchistan region and the bordering region of maybe some groups are living in the Kurdistan mountains in the northwestern part of Iran. And there are and the Qudars that are living in the Mazandar region. They have their own, although they have endorsed the religion of Islam, they have their own practices. As I said to you before, they hunt wild boars. So this is not a very practicable thing, country that, swine is forbidden. But that's why they call them infidels, they are not in contact with other people. They keep to themselves. I would say maybe around 2,000 to 3,000 Gudars, who are actually they are very, very, very close the language to Sanskrit language. They have many words which are still used in Sanskrit languages in that are Sanskrit language in India, as well as Mazandarani, which is the local language in that region, and Farsi. We do have a very small number of Sikhs living in Iran, and having said that, we do have a very small number of Indian communities in Iran living in Ahwaz and Abadan, and the reason behind that, it goes back to late 18th century when the British found petroleum in Iran. Some groups of Indian workers were sent to Iran and stayed there ever since. I'm not sure if they have they're not Roma or they are, but they're coming from an Indian background, living that region. And they stayed there, they married into the communities and things like that. Another thing that is not very common in our culture is talking, talking when an older is speaking. We always listen, we always being silent. We try not to look directly into an older person's eyes. We try to be humble and respectful. This is a very common thing with our Indian brothers and sisters, this culture thing. And one thing is respect. Respect is very important, respecting our elders. We try to not to openly argue if we do not agree with something an elder says, because we find it as disrespectful. We try to find a different way of communicating, which is it's just a very polite way of communicating, not like a starting argument. Like, it's a very different to Western, like Australia. Even if a son, for example, with his mother doesn't like something, he could yell at her and use a different tone, but we don't do that. So this is our culture. But other things we practice is which is very common, is musicians. We have different instruments which are very historic to Iran, which is called santur. We have tar, setar, we have tabl, lombak, we have instrument called kamanche, one of the oldest instrument, which is very similar to a violin, but you play it like diagonally like this. And this is a very common instrument played with a lot of Roma in Iran as well. Many great kamanche players, and the sound is very beautiful, very melodic, very spiritual. And our brothers in Baluchistan, the Roma there, they play a very heavy instrument called peychak. Peychak. It's a very heavy, which is also similar to kamanche. They play in the streets, and it's got a very, very very strong melodic sound. It's amazing. So, music is part of our DNA, basically. I'm not a musician, but I'm involved into other things. I do a lot of work with in my spare time with carpenters. You know, carpentry is also a very common thing in our culture, as well as blacksmith, you know, goldsmith, zargar. That group, zar in the Farsi language means gold. So these people are known to make gold, zargar, zargari. They're making gold. So that's the real meaning of zargar. It's actually a Farsi. And many groups in Iran, there's also a Zot group. They are living there in Bandar Abbas region, which are also come from Baluchistan region. They migrated to that region. There has been lots of intermarriages between our Domari Roma groups and in Persian people. So we are very mixed. As I said, there are some groups that they kept to themselves, but unfortunately the numbers have fallen dramatically because of you know, not having fertilities and all that, you know, not having children. But we are standing. We still, you know, love our homeland, India. I mean, I'm in contact with many groups in Iran, and they want to visit India. You know, I speak to them. They say, yeah, we would love to go to India. They watch Bollywood movies all the time. You know, they love Salman Khan and they love Shah Rukh Khan. They're a big fan of Amitabh Bachchan. And you see a single person, everybody knows the actors in Bollywood. They love it. Ishwara Rai.
Okay.
And so I just want to say that I want to conclude this conversation. If somebody wants to ask me any questions, please feel free to do so. And I want to say Jai Hind, because I love India very much.
Thank you, Mr. Koya. It has been wonderful presentation, very educative, very informative, and also very scholarly. You have touched the minute details of our society, culture, and way of living, and also the music, film star, food, everything. So it has nothing more to say, and it has been very thought-provoking for me. We are fortunate enough to have Mohan Gautam from Netherlands, who is an anthropologist, linguist, and who has done lot of research in this field. So very brief remark we want to listen from Mohan Kumar Gautam, who is also chancellor of an academic university there. गौतम जी आपका स्वागत है. ये थोड़ी थोड़ी हिंदी जानते हैं, हम चाहते हैं कि वो रोमानी हिंदी हम जाने और भारत की हिंदी पोया जाने. धन्यवाद प्रोफेसर गौतम.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Many thanks to you, my friend Narayan Kumar ji. I have one or two questions directly to Puya Hamati. Number one, do you have associations of Domari people in Australia? And not only Australia, in New Zealand and maybe Fiji, I don't know. Indonesia, do you have? If you have, do you also have relations with them? That's one thing. Second thing which I was asking, which is again to Narayan Kumar ji, Shyam Pandey ji, I think two things we should do. They are our people. They are Indian, more or less. What we should do, we should invite them in PVD, Pravasi Bharati Divas, which we have not invited. And second thing which I would like to have, that our missions should also invite them during, let's say, Republic Day, Independence Day, other day, so that the relation with India becomes more solid and solid. There was a question about this origin of theories, which I cannot ask the question to Puaji because culture is everywhere. Without culture, there is no language. Without language, there is no culture. So I think what is the origin, how it should work out is a different field. One has to look at the family. If you understand the family, then you understand the culture. And if you understand the culture, then you can correlate it with other countries where the people are living. And I think this is a challenge to us, to India, to Domari people, to Romani people, to develop their own culture and publish it so that the scientists should know what do they think about their own group. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. To answer your question, I would say very briefly, I say no. Unfortunately, not yet. We do not have a Domari community or organization in Australia. This is something that I do not distinguish myself from our Roma brothers and sisters, but because we are being called Domari because of our geographical land we are living in, I'm not going to disclaim the word Domari. But in Iran, there are some organizations, and also in, I would say, in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, there is an organization, a Domari group, and also in Lebanon. In Iran, I would say there is the Zargars have an organization, and some other groups. I would say yes, I think there are Domari organizations. I'm not sure, but I have a feeling there are. I have to get more in touch with them. And the problem is we are currently, because of the COVID situation, everything has changed dramatically. Some of the people don't have access to internet because they live in some remote places. So we have to be contacted via the telephone and things like that, which I'm going to be in touch with them very soon and get back to you on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poya. As regards the action from Government of India is concerned, we assure that people of India is more important than Government of India, and people of India recognize Roma population as their own. So it is one. And then again, in 2016, when we have the conference, that time our foreign minister, Minister for External Affairs, late Mrs. Sushma Swaraj, assured that government will work in this direction to, declare them Pravasi Bharatiya, and it will take some time, but it has some legal constitutional issue. But our embassies are now doing something, inviting something, organizing meeting, and ICCR is doing a lot. They are also in a process to grant some scholarship, and this research center is preparing a catalog of all the Roma or Domari organizations all over the world, and we will certainly take help from all the distinguished Romani scholars and also from Mohan Kumar Gautam. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
more questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Just want to say that, Mr. Mohan, we would be very delighted to be involved in Indian festivals such as the India National Day and also some of the other holidays which are involved in India. I have to admit, I'm living in a place which I have few Indian neighbors, and I have been involved in Holi programs, Holi celebration and Diwali celebration because it's very close to my heart. And I have respect and acceptance of all faiths and religions. So there is no biased or any feelings at all. I'm very grateful to know about my ancestral culture and religion.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a very nice session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you to each one who organized and the speaker. It was really good and very informative. And I enjoyed the seminar. Thank you so much.
All right.
So nice.
Thank you, Seemaji. I think the Punita ji, she has a question. Yes, Punita ji, you can put your question.
Yes, I do,
Punita
but
ji,
I think,
please.
didn't Miranda have some comments earlier? I can go after,
Okay, all
or
right.
I can ask.
So, Miranda, do you have, you can put forward your remarks and complete your, remarks. Hello.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
Miranda.
you for, if you hear me, thank you for an interesting presentation indeed. Yes, I agree. Although I
Thank you.
don't agree with all of your views, but in a friendly manner, I'm just saying that I have also worked with the Roma issues 43 years already. So I'm an old lady, actually, although my picture might look like much more younger. But I was thinking that if you would be interested, you can find from the Council of Europe pages where I worked for almost 6 years. We organized here in Europe cultural identity conference once upon a time. This happened 2003, if I remember right, 2003, 2004. And there were invited quite a big audience of Roma experts related to cultural and identity issues. And our purpose in that conference was to give a wider perspective and what does it mean, Romani Pe? Because listening to you, you rightly said actually that you don't know so much about the European existing characters of Romani Pe and how it has been actively implemented. But you can find a report, and if you are interested, I do have this report as well. I can provide it with you because I would like to see people to know a little bit more about in depth about what are the characters of Romani Pe. And it certainly doesn't include only unequal aspects of treating Roma women and girls badly, because this is such a big issue that it's the whole soul of Romani Pe, which means a lot more than disregarding Roma women. Thank you.
Punita ji.
Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, Tashakur Puya, that was really a very, very enlightening conversation that you've started on the Domari. I think we don't know enough about the Domari population. And so my question is about historic memory and self-awareness, because I'm very, very interested in the Domari population and in visits to places like Egypt and Turkey, where you would expect to find Domari people. When you talk to them, they don't seem to have the historic awareness of their antecedents. For example, performers in Egypt that I've met, I've been on a couple of musical tours. And so performers that you meet will very often say that we are Persian, so that they trace their ancestry only back a few steps, but not all the way to India. And so I'm wondering about, like not counting academics, not counting people who are educated and may have interacted and read more or interacted internationally, but just your average person from the Domari community, what would be their own awareness of their own history? Are they aware of the Indian ancestry, or do they just trace it back a few steps?
I just want to say, Bahad Dhanyawad, thank you very much for listening to me. I'm very honored to have people of your caliber in our in our meetings. I'm very grateful and honored, and I hope after these conversations, we can have further conversations together. It's a great honor for me, each and every one of you. Just want to say, to answer you regarding Egypt, well, as I said in the Book of Kings, which was written by Ferdowsi, he has mentioned that they have stayed for centuries. We have stayed for centuries in Iran. And after that, some migrated towards Egypt, some went to Europe. So the reason their knowledge, I would say, stops at Persia is because as far as they know that they came from Persia, so they do not know about India. They're not informed about it. So they know, and that's what their parents, grandparents told them. So when it comes to the same thing with our people in Iran, it's slowly they start learning, because I would say there are still places in Iran who are people who do not have internet. I would say the same thing with Iraq and other places who are living remotely. So they are not very informative regarding, cultural backgrounds and things like that. But when you get in conversation with them and they start talking, and you understand like they come from the same background as you, then you can slowly inform them about it. But some places are very hard to reach. Some people live because of the geographical features, like the desert areas, like the mountains. So, but thanks to, I would say, technology, things are becoming much more easier. And I have to say, yes, there have been people who are informed now. And some of them, they really want to visit India. And if the opportunity comes, they would be on the next plane visiting India. So yes, but we are getting there. I would say it takes some time for, I mean, Iran is not a country which is as large as India, but we do have around 85 million people living there. And we have all sorts of geographical features. We have forest, we have desert, we have mountains. So, and we have very remote villages and places that you can go by car only. There is no train, or there is no, I would say, in some villages. So it's just a matter of getting there. But I have to say, we are processing in time. So hopefully in the near future, there will be more people who are informed. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We have another question from Zalina. Yes, Zalina, you can ask a question.
Thank you very much for dear Poya. Yavsasto Bachtalo. I'm happy that somebody introduced Domaris. They're very interesting, actually. And I wanted to say that you said before that in Iran or Lebanon and Jerusalem, they have some kind of Domari organizations. Do you have some information exact about some website maybe? Maybe they have some books, dictionaries, or some poems, songs, whatever books we can find. Do you know something of that?
Yes, I have some sources on the internet. I'll be more than happy to help you with this. I just want to say, Taben Bakhtali, welcome, Sasti. Thank you for introducing yourself. And yes, with Jerusalem, there is a website. There is a lady. I forgot her name, but I have her in my contact list.
Amun Slim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miss Bonita knows her well. Yes, Amon Slim. Yes, she's from Jerusalem, and she's the one who actually informed me in details that unfortunately, from both sides, they are still not accepted. They are seen as strangers. There's some sort of discrimination involved in that area.
I'm very sorry. I wanted to add to my dear Miranda that last time I listened one lecture about, I forget for a moment, from Romania, one lady, good lady who write the books of Romani Pen. It's one kind of character of Romani Pen. There is a lot of character, what was mentioned, Miranda. So this was very informative lecture last time, and if possible, where we can follow all the videos, because a person who never took it part from the last lections, they can see all the lections what was made by India friends.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Pua, I have a questions and my remarks on your lecture. So, as you mentioned about Behram Gur story, the legend, and he asked for the lurist and the musicians, dancer, entertainers. There are the two scholars who described this event. The first, that is the Persian poet, Persian national poet, Firdausi. That's a Shahnama. And the second, that is a Hamza al-Isfani. Hamza al-Isfani, he is also the Persian historians and uh, uh, chroniclers. He used the term that is something like Zot, as you mentioned in your lecture. That is, even you mentioned Nevar of Egypt and Nevar of Earth.
Yes.
Nevar. That is an Arabicized word. That's an Arabic word. So the Zot. Firdausi used this luri for musician, and the Ispani used for Zot for the musician. But there is a contradiction. The recent and modern studies carried out by the different scholars, even non-Romani scholars or Romani scholars, they said that's the Indian tribe Jat. That's the warrior clan, as you also mentioned, their origin in Haryana, that is, or the Punjab area, Sindh area, or Rajasthan, or further.
We are coming from Yat, actually. Yes.
So,
Correct.
so that is that means that particular word, the Zot, that is often associated with the Indian Jat, right?
Yes.
And
certainly.
which has turned out to be, that's like as a self-designation of the nomad or itinerant populations of Indian origin, which are earlier found in Afghanistan during the Mahmud invasion to India. So, do you believe? There is any study which confirms the migration from India to Iran in 4020 during the reign of Bahram Gur V was of they were means those populations were the Domri, or what exactly is their correlation? Because the Rome, there are some scholars, majority of the scholars say that the Rome, they have the different origin, but that incident also happened. That is well documented by the two different Arabic scholars as well as the Persian scholars. So that is a well documented, and the situation that the historical event took place. That is without any doubt. So do you relate that Domri origin from that period, or what exactly? Because you also say that there is no difference between Rome and Dome, or some also scholars agree that the Dome is a cognate to the word Rome, Roma, Doma, yes. Right? So what is your take on this?
Thank you for addressing a very complicated question. This is a question which we might have to have some time discussing it. I would say days. It's not a straight answer for it. From what is gathered, I can say clearly. I know a lady in Sweden. Her last name was Kauri, and she found out that there's a village in Punjab, Haryana called Kauri, or maybe Chauri or something like that. And she found out that her ancestral people come from that specific village because of the name similarities. I would say in Czech Republic, where I was, there is a lot of Roma who have the last name Bihari, hence the word Bihar. And their facial expressions, their facial resemblance, they very similar to people of Bihar. They do have that similarities. As people in the western part of Bulgaria and Romania, same with our people, we resemble the Punjab, Rajasthan region, as you mentioned, the Yat people, yes. But the thing is, we traveled as there are also words in Romani language like amaro come from the word amare, which is a Bengali word. So we did not travel just in some states in India. We did travel as far as Bengal because The second, I'm talking about the second movement that happened when India was invaded. So they have to leave. A lot of people left, and they left together. There could have been people from different states, which they were, and these are the explanations which I have, the genetic explain, the research and everything, and same with the Domari people. Yes, we are very similar physically, tall and broad shoulders, and our facial resemblance similar to that of some parts of Punjab. Yes, you are right. I have to say I agree with you, but there have to be more research to fully, represent that and explain that. There hasn't been much research done regarding these things, but from what we understand, from what I gather, that the explanation is for that Kauri group, yes, for our Domari group as well. But once again, the word Domari, it's something that, same with Roma, that it's not an Indian word. It's not the Indian word. We were different groups with different names. You have the Banjara and many other groups in India that travel together. But because they traveled in one group and they want people to easily understand them as one, they were called Domari. And after our people left to Europe, they called Roma. But we were as one people. And but we came from many areas of India. But I have to say, with all due honesty, what you say, it could be not 100%, but very, very close to correction, because we do have a lot of resemblance within the northern part of India. But having said that, there are some Roma in some other countries who look very similar to maybe people of in Bihar region and also in Bengal. Like, we are not, we cannot find two Roma that look the same. I tell you this. You look at us, we have other Roma people in this group. We do not look very the same. And obviously, this relates to cultural habitation, climate, and obviously colonial diets and things like that. After centuries, people begin to physically have a different shape and form. And this is a very, very, very common thing that science can explain. But I would say history and historical research can answer that question you have raised. I believe what you say. I agree with you, but we need to have a historical proof by historian, researchers, people who are anthropologists. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Kuha. So we are on the verge of winding up the session. Before that, I have one more curiosity to know from you, because this is a very means unexplored the community. A lot of works on Roma community, Loam and Dome. These two communities, these two group of people. A lot of areas to be explored and studied and researched. So, as you mentioned in your lecture as well, that in Roma community, the Indian ancestry is axiomatic. There is no doubt. They don't have any iota of doubt that they have different origins. Maybe the fringe of scholars, they have the different views and the different opinion. They relate the Roma to Egyptian origin and other, but there is no doubt. Unanimously, they agree that they have Indian origin, and they migrated from India. The language, culture, practices, traditions, everything are analogous and identical to the Indian old and the hoary traditions and culture of India. So, do you think that some legends pertaining to Domari, Dome community, are clocking, hiding the Indian ancestry of Dome people? Because if you read that Bunny you know that there are the Mukhtar legend. You might be aware that you know that Mukhtar legend. There is a Bani Qais, Bani Rabia, Bani like Murra. These are the tribes which of the Domri community, and they relate. They actually correlate these legends to Dome community, which are of obviously the Persian origin. There's a Persian, the Persian impact on these legends. So these legends are blocking and hiding the Indian connections and Indian ancestry of Domri people and the Domri populations. What do you think?
So one thing I'm gonna get at that you believe, just like in some Roma communities, there are some certain individuals who this in the Domari background who would say the same thing, right? Is that what I'm trying to get at? Or
Actually, I want to know that are the Persian born legends, especially the like Mukhtar and Bani Rabi and all these legends which are of Persian character, which are of Persian, which have the deep impact of the Persian culture. So are these legends are deviating, or are these legends are hindrance to recognition of Dome as a Indian origin, or they have Indian connection?
We want very brief reply from Puya. We have already exceeded the time. So, Mr. Puya, if you have something to say, please go ahead.
well, sure. Zargar is one of the closest people in our people. Very similarities, looks and everything, and the language. And many of the Iranian scholars have actually recognized Zargar and Domar people of our people of Indian origin. I do have a video of an Iranian scholar who he is a, I think, archaeologist, anthropologist. He's a very, very literate person. He has double degree, and he's well known across Iran. And he's the one who spoke about our historical background. From the names you have mentioned, I cannot give you a straight answer because I have not heard anything regarding those people. But from the person who I cannot recall his name, but I will send you the link that he mentioned, that he actually recognized that. And there is the first Romani Zargar language in Iran, which is published. The book is published all around the and also. So yes.
Okay.
All right.
Jamil,
Thank you very
shall
much.
we wind up?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I request our honorary director to wind up this lecture. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I am grateful to the main speaker and all the participants and scholars who have raised very relevant questions and has been replied in equally, scholarly manner by Mr. Poya. Friends, the sky is the limit for research. And as regards Domari language and society, it needs many more research and academic work. Our center is also doing, Dr. Lokesh Chand has inspired us to do some work, and also from Professor Marcel Cotiard has done some work. So we will continue and work for this. This has been a very good and brilliant beginning, and I sincerely I'm grateful to Mr. Poya, or thank Jamil for organizing a webinar, which I in the beginning said that this Mahamari has, turned this adversity into the opportunity. We will continue to discuss many important subjects at length, in depth, and I again thanks from on behalf of my our president Rajesh Sachdev, who is the president of this Roma Study and Research Center, and he has assigned me, and Jamir asked me to be there. So they are a scholar. We have published a book, Roma in Search of Identity, and the question of root has been discussed in that book at length. Again, आप लोगों को मेरा नमस्कार, और आप लोग यहाँ आए इसके लिए धन्यवाद. You should also learn Hindi language. Government of India will, sponsor this project to all the Romani brothers and sisters. Thank you, Jamir. If you have anything to say, you can.
All right. Syam, our Secretary General, Syam sir, if any remarks you have, please. Unmute yourself, sir.
Well, nothing as much, because Narayanji has also already said all the things, and we appreciate, and I really thank Mr. Puya Farhani and everybody else who participated for his lecture. Mr. Puya, it was delightful, and all the questions relevant and the responses very befitting. I thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So thank you very much. And now we can close the lecture. And I also request all of you to participate and join our next lecture. And we are going to also organize a conference, the virtual, not virtual, hybrid conference in a virtual and physical mode on 13th of April to celebrate the World Roma Day. So very soon I'll send you the invitation, and so I humbly request all of you to please join that upcoming upcoming international conference in a hybrid mode.
Can I say very quickly?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can I also please say very quickly that I'm very grateful to Mr. Zamir for conducting these gatherings, as well as Mr. Bayat, as well as Mr. Majer. I'm very grateful, and I just want to say that I'm also very grateful to the Indian authorities and the government for creating this gathering to cultural awareness of Roma. This is something that we've been waiting for a very long time. I'm very, very honored to have this. And this is just the start of a very good beginning. This is the start of a very good friendship we are looking for. And if anybody wants to be in contact with me, I kindly ask Mr. Zamir, more than happy to provide my email and other information. I'll be more than honored to be in contact with you all. And once again, our homeland, in our heartbeat, it's always been India. India is a place where we feel home, and looking forward to see you all in India, because I'm most probably coming very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. We look forward to see you in India very soon.
All right.
Dhanyavad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
अच्छा